40 years ago, when I came to the city, there was a big issue about exclusions, violence in schools, young people carrying knives, and there was a culture in the city that's been very long-standing for gangs and violence. So the police had been trying to tackle it for many years and not really getting anywhere. Actually, people weren't looking at the causes behind. So why did the child bring a knife into school? Did anybody go back and ask the child why? Was it an act of violence? Or was it that they needed the knife, they felt they needed to protect themselves, so therefore could we look at the need why they needed to protect themselves and resolve that? Rather than just going straight to the crime, if you like, taking more restorative approaches and thinking much more about the context of the child. So we have children who are living in poverty, they might have a pretty poor lived experience at home, living in chaos, not knowing when they were getting food, maybe a parent with addiction problems. So is it no wonder when they come to school that they react badly when a teacher gets in their face?
Sometimes things aren't as they seem, and it really does require working together in order to formulate the most effective response.
The whole system kind of approach to youth justice means that you're not just dealing with the symptoms or what is really visible, but you're actually dealing with some of the structural inequalities that lead to these very poor outcomes that are particularly experienced by groups that experience poverty, discrimination and disadvantage. These are racialized groups, overrepresented by far in the criminal justice system. It's just relentless and ruthless.
Any government tends to look at things in sections, look at justice or education or health, whereas actually a child's life is lived in one whole. In which the various services impinge. So what you might be trying to do in education can be completely undermined by what the police are trying to do. You've got to look at the lives lived and then shape the services around that.
When we work with those individuals, we are sidelining and not really overemphasizing enforcement and criminal justice measures, but instead we're focusing on safeguarding as to how we can better protect that person's safety, that person's future, that person's life ambitions.
Are our children and young people feeling happier, safer, healthier, and able to reach their full potential through education, through activities, through just having that enrichment to be a young person?
These children need to feel they belong, and they need to be part of their local communities, and we need to value their experiences, even if they are radically different to our lived experiences. And that's a real challenge for teachers. It's a challenge for me. I wasn't brought up in poverty, so I don't have that lived experience. So it can be too easy to be judgmental.
If you don't have an inclusive workforce, a workforce that is representative of the communities that you're serving, then you won't have that understanding or lens of experience that infuses the decision making. So I do think that as far as possible, it's important to try and include the populations that you're serving in some of the works that you're doing. So you're working with them, not to them, not at them, but for them, but with them.
10, 12 years ago, the government was talking about increasing building new jails for young people, so young secure care environments. All those plans were shelved because we have now fewer and fewer young people. Now that's a massive cost to society, £200,000 a year to keep a young person in secure care, and that we've reduced all those numbers. because what we're doing is finding alternative pathways and different supports for these young people. Exclusions in that 14-year period have reduced by 93%.